Hi everyone, I'm Melody. Have you been a bit overwhelmed recently in Star Rail like I have? I mean, they literally just dropped 6 reruns alongside 2 new characters, all at once. And there's absolutely no clue if they'll keep doing this after. In other words, Hoyo is trying to drain all of us. Unless you have lots of money, we're all likely going to be poor on jades right now. And this means that your pulls are more valuable than ever, and we really need to determine what is worth it or not. So, I decided to make this video and try to break down things to prepare you for various reruns. I will be going over reruns specifically, not new characters. However, I will be discussing the reruns regarding the theherta and aglaea too. But before we get into things, comment below what character you're saving for and if you care more about your favorites or meta characters. For me personally, I've stuck with only pulling for characters I actually like, and I've refused to pull for characters I don't, even if they are an upgrade for my team. Now, let's get into it. I'll try not to waste your time in this video, so my plan is to rapid fire through various characters who will eventually rerun or are about to rerun, and I'll give you some scenarios in which you should or shouldn't consider saving for them. Let's start with the characters coming now. Boot Hill is an extremely efficient single target obliterator. The question is, does he still hold up? Will he still hold up? Well, here's some things you have to consider. If you don't have Boot Hill already, pulling for him now would be a bit unwise, simply because the meta will be revolving around erudition for a long while. Is he still amazing at his niche? Well, absolutely. He still is a top performer for Apocalyptic Shadow especially. Will he fall off? Well, it'll take a while for him, I believe, because of how he scales and how he benefits from so many supports. I'd say go for Boot Hill if you already have Fugue, especially go for him if you have Sunday as well, and if you're in need of a single target damage dealer. Should you pull for his light gun? I'd say he's perfectly functional without it, but the boost is really nice. Now let's get to the saving part. Are his eidolons at all worth going for? Let's say he's your favorite character and you have like 200 pulls saved, but you like other characters and you're not so sure where your stopping point should be. His E1 lets him get his wind requirement going even faster. Although with Fugue, it's not all that necessary. The Death Shred is nice, but it's also really not worth saving for. What about his E2? Again, it's useful, but it's just not necessary. So my definitive answer here is don't save for Boot Hill's eidolons unless you love him more than anyone. They won't be game changing, and these pulls can go to another character, since he works fresh out of the box at E0. Next character, Robin. Robin has already had a rerun and she's back again. This will likely be the last time for a while. Should you go for it or save for her next rerun? If you have follow-up characters, erudition characters, or even want to commit to remembrance characters, Robin is a must. She will not be falling off. Her relevance has only skyrocketed, and even the next harmony won't dent her at all. If you already have her, I would heavily advise in pulling for her E1. Even if you don't have her light cone, her E1 is too valuable not to consider. As for anything beyond that, I would recommend sitting at E1. Maybe only get her S1 if you're having problems with getting her ult up and going. Save the rest of your jades for another character unless again, she's your absolute favorite. Last rerun that's next, Silverwolf. I would tell you to only save or pull for her if she's one of your favorite characters ever. If she isn't that important to you, don't even think about it. Just save for someone else. If you own her, her E2 is to be considered for making her builds easier and flexible, but I would also say you should only really consider saving up your jades for that if you have the rest of your team figured out and complete. Now let's get on to the proper saving, the characters who won't get a rerun for a while, but will eventually. Let's start with the theherta. She just released, yes, but what if she's a favorite? Now's the time to start saving. How much should you invest then? Well, I have good news for you. You should just save up and go all in on the theherta in that case. Her eidolons are all really good, as well as her light cone, but more specifically, she will not die in the meta anytime soon, and will likely continue to grow. You shouldn't save for more than E0 if you don't have the rest of her team figured out. What if you just skipped her? Should you also consider saving for E0 on rerun? Well, again, this is always dependent on who you like the most, but if you like her, I would guarantee you that she will likely only be better in the future. Her vertical investment is amazing, and that changes things. What about Aglaea? Let's say you love her but only was able to have enough for E0. Is it worthwhile to save up for her eidolons for next time? I would say they are good upgrades, but not insane upgrades worth dying for. She's a character that you really care more about her light cone, so go for that if you didn't have it. Consider if you should save for this one character or if you should spread your Stellar Jade savings out. If a character's vertical investment isn't consistently insane, there is usually more incentive for you to just stop and go for other characters. Team diversity is great after all. Now, what are two characters that are extremely hard to tell you to skip? Fugue and Sunday. If you don't have them, both characters are beyond valuable to get even at E0, and they are both pretty much future-proof, destined to be in teams for a long time. If you don't have Sunday's light cone, go for it. You should be sure to have savings enough to get it because it changes everything. Fugue, on the other hand, only go for it if you have savings enough for her first two eidolons too. Fugue's vertical investment is possibly some of the best in the game. Every single eidolon she provides is phenomenal. If you already have her and you use her religiously, heavily consider saving up for her eidolons. It will be worth it. Sunday, you can stop at his E1 realistically. Most damage dealers won't benefit too heavily from his other eidolons, at least not enough to justify the cost. But if you are for sure hyper-investing into Remembrance characters, Sunday is the butter to your bread. Go all in on him. His investment will be just as important as the Remembrance DPS. What about this dazzling ninja? Is she worth saving for her rerun? It's hard for me to say because I think her vertical investment is definitely better than Boot Hills for a break damage dealer, but she's also more expensive in general. And that, I mean that her light cone is pretty much a necessity and without it she will barely function. Go for her if you need a break DPS, she is possibly the best in the game. Absolutely go for her if you have Fugue. Fugue turns her into one of the most broken characters currently in the meta. If you already have her, make sure you have enough for her light cone if you don't already have it. And honestly, I'd recommend going for E1 or E2 if you have Fugue. But if I had to tell you which of the two would be better to save for, it would be Fugue. If you save 200 pulls for Fugue, it would get you a lot further than Rappa, because her eidolons are much more game-changing. I'll go over a few last ones who are coming possibly soon, who are due for a rerun. Dr. Ratio. His eidolons are great, but I'm not sure if I'd invest into him at all unless you're in love with him and use him all the time. You're better off saving for his teammates at that point too. His light cone, however, can be beneficial to save for, as it can help with other characters too if you ever need to switch out teams. The Doctor has unfortunately fallen off hard, so it would take a lot of work to keep him hitting as hard as he used to. So, another thing that's holding me back from recommending saving for him. Jiaoshu. If you like him and you have Acheron, just go for it. If you have E2 Acheron, it's even more wise to save for his eidolons while you're at it, since they'll be the next logical giant leap in performance for her. I doubt he'll fall off soon. It'll happen eventually, but what he provides is very good. His light cone is totally skippable, however, so if you don't want to set aside all of your savings for him, you can make do without. Yunli. I wouldn't recommend saving up for her at this current point unless you are a massive fan. It would be a bit late to start from scratch with her. Not to say you can't or that she would be bad, but I can already feel a shift in the meta that tells me she won't perform too well. But maybe I'll be proven wrong. That being said, if you do have her, saving up for her eidolons is perfectly okay. Saving up for Robin is likely more smart, but her eidolons are a good damage boost too. Her light cone is a great thing to save for, especially for you Clara mains that missed out on it. Just consider whether she will still hold her own against the new content. HP inflation has gotten so bad and some enemies don't attack enough, which would make Yunli worse and worse. She felt so great when Hule was running, and that's because he was designed for her. Lastly, one version 1 character I would like to mention, Huahua. She has seen a surge in meta relevance. Now with her niche and energy boosting being more needed than ever with Remembrance characters along with Sunday and Robin. Should you save for a rerun, which will likely come sooner than later with her new showcase popularity? If you already have her, her E1 is a must. It's game changing, especially for all the teams she is relevant in. 12% speed benefits all, and her becoming skill point positive helps costly characters such as the theherta. Her light cone you have no reason to save for. Her best options are usually free to play. If you don't have her, I would honestly say if you're considering her, then save up. But wait for if any other sustain comes around. You never know if they might make a Remembrance healer who does her niche but better. But if you're sure you want that, or you're confident that they wouldn't do that anytime soon, go for it. She'll help all the new teams, and her cleansing is still just as valuable as ever too. And that'll be all. I repeated the same thing multiple times, but I can't say enough. If you have a favorite, you have no reason to listen to me. Save up, skip everyone else, go for your faves. But I do hope I was able to offer something even with that being the case, as you may now be considering stopping points to where to invest into a favorite, as to not overcommit or miss out on other characters you may want. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And with that, I bid you adieu, my notes.
Or else you will die.